Green beans with my plate.
Oh, Ann's mom makes green beans pretty good. She just puts a pound of butter in there. And,
so it's not the green beans, it's the butter that you like.
That's right.
All right. Hey, welcome everybody to the Den. We're here with Coach Seth Parr. We are live, not from where we were last week, but we are live from Crow's Country Cafe right here in the heart of Anna. We are super excited to be joined once again, as always, by Coach Parr.
It's good to be back and ready to get started for this week. And thank you guys for all of what y'all have done for the Anna Coyote football team, but also what y'all do for Anna High School and Anna community.
Well, we're glad to have you, glad to do it. Just a couple introductions. That's my partner right over there, Mr. Blake Grundy.
I'm Blake Grundy.
Yeah, I'm Phil. Oh.
No, go ahead. I say we're here. We're the bald guys.
We definitely bald guys. We got a little theme going on, Coach. You want to maybe join in?
Hey, I've gone bald before.
All right. All right.
No hassle.
All right, well, we're going to jump right in. We get Coach for a couple questions, and then we get a couple others. And format's pretty simple. Every single week, we spend some time talking with our coaches, and we always get to lead it off with our head coach. And so we are certainly glad that you're here. And I guess we'll just start with the big one. How was last week's game kind of affected your prep for this week's game against Gunner?
Well, it affected it a lot on Labor Day. So we had a nice practice. We went out there and made sure that we fixed a lot of, maybe not fixed because it's not going to get fixed overnight, but we definitely we ran the ball and we hit and we got physical. So I think we really focused on stopping the run and getting physical and finding guys that are willing to do it, and that's kind of where we're heading.
I love it. So as we kind of close the book on last week, you've given us some really good things that you've talked about in post-game interview and tonight. I kind of want to turn the page and start looking ahead a couple of days. What have you seen on film about Gunner that has helped you prepare for this week?
Well, Gunner's a good football team. They two-time defending state champion. They got the longest winning streak in the state of Texas at 33 games. 33-game win streak. They know how to win. Their kids know how to win. Their community knows how to win. So, that's hard. People think that if you win enough, you know what it takes to win. And that's kind of where this team is at Gunner. They know how to win and they know what it takes to win. So it's going to be a tough opponent, and it's going to be an exciting Friday night with the community and everybody being involved. You better come early because there's not going to be a seat there.
Well, Texas high school football this week put out some stuff talking about this is one of the most odd matchups of the week.
Oh, yeah. Probably it's odd because they're a smaller school than what we are, and we were a 4A Division I that we just got bumped up to 5A. They were a 3A Division I or something Division II, I can't remember. But this all started with a phone call. We couldn't find a week 2 game, and we were kind of waiting. I knew, with losing our defense from a year ago, that we needed something in order to get some confidence. And Oakland wasn't it, and but we inherited that, and then we were waiting on a week 2 game, and I didn't like. There's 2 teams that were, trying to get us, and it was Carthage, which is a state power in itself. I think they've won 12 state championships or somewhere in there, and then Texas High, who I knew we're going to have to play maybe later on down the road, and maybe if we get 4 or 5 rounds deep. But they had the #1 running back in the nation, and to start a new defense out, I said, man, I don't think that's a smart move. And so they kept on calling me and saying, hey, we can't find anybody to play. Do you want to play? And I knew we had this big district, and we're going to have Lovejoy and Melissa back to back. And that's kind of why I didn't want to play Salina. I didn't want to go Salina, another team, Lovejoy, Melissa. And that's 2 emotional games all back together. And they couldn't find anybody. And they're like, we can't find anybody. How do you want to play? And I said, well, I'm holding out. I'll wait. I'll call you back later. And I would call people. And then Carthage would call, say, we can't find a week 2 game. Are you guys ready? Nobody will play us. And then Texas High called me again, said, hey, we can't find a game. Are you guys ready? And we can't find a game. I said, listen, guys, I know 2 of you that looking for games. and I can give y'all each number, and you can call Carthage.
So you started to play matchmaker.
Yeah, I said, I can make this happen for you.
You need to start your own business.
That's right.
You can be the consultant there.
So then from there, a team from Oklahoma called. They came down and looked at all of our facilities. It was called Cal Albert. And so Cal Albert called and said, hey, we're looking for a game. So Coach Rigg is usually my guy that I can call, and he knows all the statistics and everything. And I said, how about Carl Albert? And he goes, Coach, 4 of their offensive linemen are going to Oklahoma next year. They're all committed. So I didn't think that was a good idea either at that time. So then Carthage called again, and I gave him Cal Albert's number. I said, here these guys wanting to play. But then Gunner called me around. I was about to say, all right, we're just going to play Texas High. And then Gunner's Coach Faisal, is it Faisal? I always mess his name up, but he's a great coach. And he called me and said, Coach, we can't find anybody to play. And it's usually because they probably beat them 70-0. And nobody wanted one of them, and said, do you mind playing? And I didn't like the, the class discrepancy, but, I also got one of my best friends is in control of the concession stand. He's the concession stand coordinator at our facility, and I was like, man, that's a lot of hot dogs we can sell.
It is a lot of hot dogs.
With Gunner and
those Coyote nachos are going to be flying off the shelves.
That's right. So do you want to go 3 hours to play a game, or do you want to play it here in Anna and have a team 30 minutes away from you come? And I just think the atmosphere is going to be too good for our players to resist. And, so that's how the game came about, in a long, very long story, but that was true. It was a long day.
Well, that's what we're here for, Coach. We love the long stories, so thank you for
it was a long day, I'm telling you.
I bet it was. I bet it was. I bet it was kind of like finding a venue for us today.
Yeah,
We got a little wild. We give a shout out to Nandas in this moment, but
when you win and you win the big one, everybody thinks that all those guys that they saw on TV stay with you.
Right.
And I was trying to tell them, no, all those guys, I would love for them to get a medical or a COVID year, a red shirt, but their parents said they have to leave the house now.
They kicked
time to
him
get
out.
him out.
Yeah, so
Time to get them off the company
Even
dime.
if you could get the UIL to say yes, the parents said no.
that's right. I was all for it for them staying, but they were ready to leave, and we got a lot of guys that got to play last week and in college, and it was good.
So last year, Coach, your team had a lot of senior leaders. We saw, as you're speaking of kicking kids out of the house and off to college, who's starting to kind of fill those roles as we get into this season? Who do you see stepping up in that leadership role?
I'm not a big pointing out a leader. They kind of happen, they just happen by doing. And I'm not a big, you're the leader, because they're 17, 18 years old, The leader is the coaches that they're paying to do the leading. But what I want them to do is practice, and their approach to the game or approach to anything has to be serious, and I want them to care for others, And once I start seeing that, and I'm looking at Dylan's mom, and he is a servant leader. Now, does he ever talk? No. He'll say my bad every once in a while. But I think everybody on the team respects Dylan, and they respect him because of the way he approaches not only football, but how he goes about in school and how much he cares for other people, and they see that. So when you're talking about leaders, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a cheerleader, and I'm looking for some guys that they like, hey, I want to model myself after him. And that's what we had to have in Anna, especially at this time with kids. We got to be real careful of who we let in and who we let, becomes part of our program, that we put the Anna gear on, because they're a representation of us and the school. And it's important for the young kids to see that's the type of crowd I want to go with. Yeah. And we got a lot of those guys, but we also got some growing up to do and some maturity. But that happens with any time you have teenage males and even coaches. I'm 45. My wife says I need to mature all the time. And so
she's already shaking her head off camera.
45 or 46.
Hey, we got 9 minutes into the stream before you're shaking your head. I think that's a record. We're good.
That's an improvement.
Speaking, my daughter said you need to interact with the fans. She sent you a message last week.
Oh, she did?
Yes,
I didn't get a text message from her.
Well, she sent it on the comments.
Oh.
But she is sick, and I hope she's getting well. So we got one that's got the flu at there, so she's watching. We're hoping she gets well.
Listen, I'm looking at it, and I don't see anything from Danny.
Go.
I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
We'll do a little investigating. We'll figure it out. Make sure she gets some respect on that comment.
All right.
Hey, so what is Gunner's offensive attack looking like? They ran a really run-heavy offense last year. Has that kind of changed? Have things shifted? What are you seeing?
Well, their quarterback was heavily involved in their run game last year. Won a lot of games. Haven't seen Coach Severe here.
He's back there.
All right. I was hoping you were showing up today. All right.
So, he's up next.
Yeah, so he'll get to come up. But they're very they run a lot of they sprint off the ball really well. They fire off the ball. He'll be able to tell you more about it. I really focus on the defense. I just tell him, I give him advice. I say, hey, stop the run. That's what I tell Coach Bear. And,
don't let him score.
Yeah, stop them. Don't let them score. But they come out the ball. They run the option. They're good with the leads. They're not real big, but they'll get foot to foot. They know what they're doing. They played a lot of football. Think about playing 16 games every year and how much of an advantage that is over everybody that is that they play against. So they played a lot of football, and a lot of respect to them, and they do it right. I just hope they hope the streak ends on Friday.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's feeling like the kids were. I said y'all ruined. We ruined. I didn't say y'all. We ruined the first football game of the season. I couldn't even watch football this week and enjoy it. My food didn't taste good. All this stuff, it just wasn't right. So we got to get that feeling back. and get going again.
No, I agree. Listen, my wife is from she went to Gunter High, so that's where she graduated from. But I hope she comes home a little bit sad that her alma mater lost loses on Friday night.
You're not the only one.
I'll take that. Well, hey, any closing thoughts that you want to give about the game, about what you want to see out of the crowd, anything in between?
Man, I thought the crowd was great. I thought a lot of people showed up. I thought the horns. I mean, we were hoping to get the third down. We didn't get really a lot of third down, so we didn't get the horns going quite a bit. But we're getting there. I thought it was a great game for us to learn, and we know what our weakness was. I thought a lot of our kids, that was the first time they got to play a varsity game, and they moved fast, and we were moving slower. And I knew that was going to happen. We still could have won the game, and it's a team game. Mm-hmm. And offense shouldn't have turned it over. And if we didn't turn the ball over, we win the game. And I thought everybody did good. So we have a term here called, we don't say offense, defense, we call it we-fence. And it's not one group versus the other. It's we win and lose together. But what a great community showing. And make sure we're doing it again this week. It was a fun atmosphere. Wish we could have won, but I thought the turf looked great.
It looked fantastic.
Thanks to our board and Mr. Como for getting that turf down. We needed that.
We can let them know that. They can hear you through the mics. I think that's worthy of an applause for those that got that done.
It's good being a community that wants the best. For the biggest investment in the whole town is our kids. And and have a group of people that realize that if we're going to be good as a community, you got to invest in them. How do you invest in them? Give them the very best things that you can possibly give them, and let them shine. So Coyote Stadium's going to be the best environment on Friday night. We got Dave Campbell's coming to broadcast the game as well.
Awesome.
So
nice.
We're going to have Dallas. Yeah, Dallas Works, is that right? They're coming. Valley Sports. So we're going to have everybody here. So it's going to be a fun night. And I can't wait to have a winning talk with you guys after the game.
Us too.
We are looking forward to that too, Coach.
Yeah, when we set that up, I didn't want to start that with a loss, but sometimes that happens.
Well, Coach, thanks so much. We're going to get an opportunity to hear from one of the other coaches here in just a second. We're going to get Coach Severe up here, but we're going to take a quick ad break before we do that. We just want to take a second to thank the guys here at Crow's Country Cafe, and then we're rolling to this, and then we'll be right back with Coach Severe.
Thank you, guys.
We've been live the whole time. All right. Hey, we're back with Coach Severe, our defensive coordinator with the Coyotes. And by the way, can they see my plate of food on the camera?
Yeah, they can.
By the way, for those of you at home, look at how beautiful this plate looks. I'd encourage you guys to come live to one of these shows, whether it's here or anywhere else. The food is always delicious. So hey,
wait a minute. You went full Texan on that phrase. So you can enjoy us live.
Live. That's about as Texan as you get out of me too. Besides the y'all.
All right.
I'm watching the back of that plate. It does look delicious. Hey, Coach Spear, let's start with looking backwards, kind of like we did with Coach Parr. I think there's got to be some backwards facing stuff. And so last week you faced a really talented rushing offense. Should we say a proficient offense that scored points? How about that? Background Phil and I argued about whether to put offense or rushing offense. But what did you learn from last week, and what did you work on heading into the game this week against the Gunner?
Shoot, there's a lot we learned, I guess. Not always fun to learn lessons sometimes, but first of all, let's give credit to Oakland. I mean, they came down here ready to play. They had played a couple scrimmages, and they had a game, and I thought they were definitely a lot more sharp than us offensively than we were defensively for that game. And they were ready to play, and they got off the ball, and they knocked us off the ball a little bit. And a lot of our kids kind of got their first taste of varsity football, and wasn't a good taste. So hopefully they get that taste out of their mouth. And so what did we learn from it? We learned we got to get a lot tougher. We got to get a little more physical. We got to read our keys better. You know, we talked about you guys got a kick out of that story last week while we were listening to a lot of girlfriends instead of moms last week. So we got to do a better job reading our keys and getting off the ball better and just being physical. I think it's just a learning experience for kids. It was the first time under Friday Night Lights for a lot of them, and we played a really good team. A team who was in the state championship in 6A last year in Tennessee, and so they've been there. They were experienced, and they had some good running backs and good O-line, and they kind of gave us a little medicine.
Okay, so
Love it.
Coach, we asked Coach a little bit about that whole motivation, that leadership, all that stuff. That I think a lot of us are hoping to see from both sides of the ball, right? What have you seen in terms of motivation and leadership outside of the coaching staff? How are these guys responding this week?
I think, first of all, Coach Parr sets the tone, and we came in Monday morning, and we were laboring on Labor Day, and there was a physical practice, and I think our kids understood that this is what we're going to do. We're going to get after it. We're going to be physical, whether you are going to do it or we'll find someone else who wants to do it. But ultimately, we're going to field a team that we feel like gives us a chance to be successful, gives us a chance to win games. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find guys who are willing to do it, willing to be physical and willing to be tough and do the things that they're asked to do. And so Monday we just did that, and we were looking for guys who were willing to step up in that moment and do it. And so we found some kids, we found some moments. I think we still have a lot of growth to go. We are not there yet. But Monday you saw some players respond, and you saw some players that maybe aren't ready to respond. So we're going to have to figure that out. But ultimately it's about all of us getting better, all of us getting tougher. It's about me doing better. It's about our coaching staff doing better to coach them and getting them in the right spots. And ultimately about those guys just trusting it and playing really hard. So I've seen some of it, but I would like to see a lot more.
I think I heard on Monday, walking through the coach's office, somebody say something about the plan for the day, and the response was tackle football. That's the plan, tackle football.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where they just haven't done it enough. And I know in the headsets at one point, I asked Coach Guerrero up in the booth, and I said, hey, man, what happened on this play? He goes, Coach, I think our kids just haven't seen this kind of speed, an offense with this kind of physicality and speed in the run game on a Friday night like this yet. They just haven't seen it. They're just not responding. They're not firing as quickly as the other team. And so hopefully we got that out of our system, and we're ready now, and we know what to expect. And so I think we'll perform much better on Friday night on defense, and hopefully our offense keeps it up, because, man, they were fun to watch. I didn't get to watch much of it. We were trying to fix things, but every time I turned up, we were moving the ball. So it's that's at least comforting, to know that we have a great offense and a great quarterback and a group that's going to help us, hopefully settle in the game. But ultimately, we got to be a lot better.
Well, I mean, listen, there's a reason you schedule a team like Oakland, right? And there's a reason you challenge yourself is so that when the district games come and when those tough moments come or when the playoffs come, you've been there. You've been in a dogfight. You've been in a moment where you have to ask that question, can I reach deeper and give more? And games like that on Friday help them learn what that means to reach deeper and give more when the moments require it the most. There were moments during our playoff run last year where players had to do just that, and they had to make those decisions, and they answered the bell. And so a game like Oakland, even though it wasn't the outcome we wanted, helps us do that in the future. So let's kind of look forward a little bit. We had asked Coach Parr this a little bit, but want to ask you as well as a defensive coordinator, what are you seeing from Gunner's offense, and what are the keys for you guys on Friday night against Gunner?
As far as offensively, they have a lot of good. I mean, they're just a really good football team, really well coached. They get off the ball. They run their offense really well. So, I mean, they're just it's always fun to play good people. And so we didn't get the result we wanted last week, but it's to be honest, I don't really want to play a bad team. You don't learn a lot about yourself. In the games where you play good people, you learn where you're deficient. You learn, okay, we got to get better at this. So when you play good teams in the playoffs, you kind of know what to expect, and you know how do we fix it. What's the plan going in? So because we already know the problems. Gunner's gonna challenge us. They're gonna get off the ball. They're gonna run their offense really crisp. Last year they had a great running quarterback. This year their quarterback's, I think, in my opinion, a better thrower than the guy last year. So they might try to throw the ball. I mean, last week they threw the ball a little bit more than they did the prior year. So they may try to use some of their outside weapons. But ultimately, if I'm them, I line up and see if we can stop the run. Because ultimately we didn't do it last week. So I expect them to be physical and try to get off the ball and you know, start the run game, start their game, and kind of try to impose their will. And we got to do a better job, and I believe we will do a better job of getting after them in the run game and trying to force them to pass. And if we get them into a game where they're throwing the ball, I think that's one of our strengths on defense right now is our pass defense. We didn't get to highlight that last week, but they didn't have to. They didn't have to throw. So as far as our goals are what we need to do to win the game, what are some of the things that we need to do on defense is we need to stop the run, number one. Stop the run, get them on second and long, get them on third and long, get them in situations where we can use our talented DBs to make some plays. And so ultimately that's kind of the plan, is stop them on first down and, you know, read our keys, play good football, tackle football. We got to tackle guys. We got to run through people. We got to be willing to run through and, you know, bring our feet on tackles, all the stuff we coach and all of the drills our players do. It's not anything new. It's just about executing a little bit better.
So listen to your mothers.
Yes.
Both, for any players that might be watching, both in real life, and in football, listen to your mamas.
Yep.
Well, and you know that brings up an interesting deal. There was a whole lot going on last week, right? And these kids had a whole lot in their ears, and I think that's exactly what you were kind of addressing our last show together. How do you help a kid redirect from some of that in the world of social media and how closely connected these kids are? These kids are playing against kids that they would have never heard from going into their game, but now they're all up in everybody's face well before they get to play each other. So how do you deal with that as a coach? Because that's different about the game today than maybe the game that was being played 10 years ago.
I think it's kind of it's interesting. You hear in the locker room on the way back from a game, it's like, man, I don't even want to see what's going on in my mentions. You know, and so they're like talking about like, oh, now we talked a lot of trash, they talked a lot of trash, now they're going to have kind of the upper hand. So it's definitely different. You know, it's different from playing Gunner, where these kids may see each other. You know, they may see each other at a restaurant, at the mall, at other sporting events, you know, travel baseball or whatever. They might see each other at different events. That's different because you have that relationship or you kind of know each other. That team from Oakland, we didn't really know them other than social media, and it got kind of interesting on social media last week. And
That's a word for it.
And so I'm guessing there's a lot of kids a little concerned, and man, I don't want to check what's going on in my Instagram mentions and all that stuff. But that's just different. I mean, I'm not used to that I never had to worry about that as a player. So You know, it's just a different world we live in. The technology is good and bad. It gives and takes. So just learning to adjust and be smarter about what you put online and, you know, what you say to other people and what you're listening to ultimately, because sometimes you can, if you start listening to the wrong stuff, you can believe it, and all of a sudden you're not believing what you need to.
Yeah, it's that old garbage in, garbage out.
Yep.
You listen to too much garbage, that's what you're going to become. So, you know, it's a good word. I'm glad we've got coaches that are helping our kids work through some of this stuff. I think that's, like you said, top down. I think it starts with Coach Parr. It's worked through all you guys. Our guys are getting prepared for not just the games that are in front of them here, but one of the things I see is I see some of these guys learning to be men along the way. Good men, right? Hardworking, good men. And Coach, you're a part of that, and we're so thankful for you and for you being here tonight to answer some questions, man. Again,
awesome.
You came back.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys allowed me in. I thought Coach Parr said, "Hey, you're going tonight, right?" I said, "I didn't know they let me back in." So
Hey.
Of course.
I thought they might be two guys at the door and say, "Nah, you got to earn your way back."
No way, we got you. So look, we're gonna pause as we make another coaching change here, or coaching. That sounded really ominous.
As we
brother.
bring another
I'm
coach
sorry.
up to the
as
hot
we bring
seat.
another coach up.
So surprise, Coach Samir, surprise.
Just so you know, I don't have that kind of authority, so you're good. We're going to pause. We're going to identify another sponsor on our way out in Anna Dental and be thankful for having some time with you, Coach. All right, guys, we are back. We get an opportunity now to talk to Coach Rigg, our offensive coordinator. He's going to spend some time on the hot seat here in the Coaches Show. Listen, offense last week seemed to play pretty well, right? They seemed to get off kind of on a really good start. I know there's some things to address in relationship to that, but do you want to talk a little bit about kind of how they started and what your thoughts were coming out of that week?
Yeah, I mean, thought the guys played really well. Oakland up front, starting with the O-line, kind of threw some things that they'd shown before, but from some different looks and things that they thought they could get us on. Brought a lot of edge blitzes, a lot of different pressures, different looks and coverages with it. Thought the guys reacted really well. The O-line, we gave up very little pressure, and the one we did, Zy ran for a 75-yard touchdown, which always makes pressure look really good. Always makes the O-line, that sack line look really good when they can't even touch that guy. I mean, makes them look pretty special. But they did a really good job. Had a lot of pressure. Had some really, one of the better D-lines we probably faced. Even last year, it's probably the best D-line we faced. Had a couple good players on it. Had a lot of good backers, and but at the end of the day, had 3 drives where we turned it over instead of score, and that's how the game ends. I mean,
well, so we use this phrase a lot on our stats show, and it's this idea of trench warfare. Yeah. That stuff that's happening down on that line, and it's a different thing. Like we see it from the stands, and it looks a certain way. We've had the privilege of getting some video this year, being up close, and it looks a whole lot different down there. What are some of the good things you've been seeing happening with the offensive line and their play?
Yeah, I mean, they're just maturing, being 1 year older. We got some seniors last year. We had, Zach Roberson, who was a first-time starter, and then had Lane, who was a 3-year starter. But, didn't have a lot of experience coming back on the O-line, having, 5 guys that have played a lot of snaps, a lot of football, kind of starts you off already in a really good place. You have the good building blocks, and then they haven't, just kind of rested on being a good O-line. They're trying to take that next step, build together, and sort of improve, weekly and daily, and like really take a lot of that coaching, a lot of the, little critiques and ins and outs of that offensive line stuff where a lot of people see big guys just running into each other, but there's a lot of technique, a lot of form that goes along with that these guys, are getting to a point where they can kind of be masters of that. It's showing up.
Well, so let's talk about the 3 turnovers just for a brief moment. It looked like 2 out of the 3 when I went back and watched some of it seemed more like communication type of stuff, and the third was Zai trying to step up in the pocket against a little bit of pressure, and just honestly the DB had to dive to make the interception. But so if 2 out of the 3 of them are kind of miscommunication stuff, how do you go in there and iron that out?
So 3 of them really were some flukes of a kind of, but can't have them. The first one, Zai actually gave Zay a glance route, which is a kind of deep slant route, which Zay runs, but at the last moment the corner presses up, and then under press coverage we're ready to take that thing vertical. So He gives him a vertical at the last moment, but some of that communication, Zay came in through the summer and some of that stuff, and so he didn't look for a signal again, so he runs a glance route. Well, it just so happened the corner press bails. He bails, and we throw a vertical, which, when there's not a receiver there, it's pretty easy interception.
Right.
And then on one of our runs that we had, the fumble happens with the running back quarterback exchange. We had Bo Brown in there. Chumley was cramping up, and Bo comes in, and we were trying to run a fake to the running back and get Zion to the run game, and he was going to insert on kind of an inside zone play, and just kind of had a fluke deal where running back runs a little too close, ball's out a little bit too much, and it gets knocked over. They recover it, just week 1 things that you can't have happen that sometimes happen. And then the third interception we throw, Chumley's running an angle route, and it's a route we run all the time in 7-on-7, complete a lot. It's a very tough route to cover, and he cramps up about midway through the route, so then it's overthrown, and it's a whole big deal. But it was some stuff that happens week 1, but things that you just can't have happen.
Well, in the midst of that, real quick, just as a follow-up, you mentioned Bo Brown. Look, looking from our perspective, Bo steps in when Chumley goes down, and it looks like, from a non-coach, I looked at him like, man, that kid did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about Bo stepping in and some of that?
Yeah, so Bo played receiver for us up till this year. We had, George, we moved over to safety. He was kind of our backup running back, gave us that second back last year. And so we're looking for a guy that could be physical, could, pass protect.
He was not afraid of contact.
No. could do the things that we need from a back. And we thought about Bo, and, he's slidden in. He's done a great job. Has gotten better and better, The first couple weeks, he was kind of running the ball like a receiver, but then you guys saw the other night that, he's hitting that thing downhill, and whether there's a hole or not, he's going to get what he can get. So, it's a good tone setter to have when, Chumley brings it every single time he touches the ball. To have a guy that can come in and give you, spell Chumley, give you something that you really need, some physicality, is a big deal.
Yeah, and it's good for long seasons too.
Very. Gotta have to.
It was fun to watch. That was a neat wrinkle in the midst of all of that. You never want to see a guy go down. We love Chumley. We talk, obviously he's a big part of the football team. We talk a lot of good about him. But to have a guy like that behind seems like it's a very nice thing for those kind of moments. So I know you got a question.
Oh yeah, no. So let's shift forward a little bit. Start looking at Gunner. What are some of the things you're seeing? And what are some of the plans for your offense to put Gunner's defense at a disadvantage this week?
Yeah. So me, Coach Rodriguez, Coach Parr actually got a little advanced scouting on Gunner. We sat through about a 24-hour coaches clinic marathon in Ruston, Louisiana in May. We went down there, spoke, also got to listen to a lot of speakers. And it was his brother set it up, and it was a full slate of speakers. We were listening all day, but one of those was just so happened the two staffs that were there were us and the Gunner Tigers. So we got to hear about their tackling circuit, got to hear about their fits, their coverages. I mean, we got a little advanced scouting on all that, and they do phenomenal job. They're a great group of coaches. There's a reason they win as much as they do. They know what they're doing. It's not that it's the most complicated scheme in the world, but it's done right. They do a really good job over there. And so kind of looking at them, they're extremely aggressive up front. They're the closest group I could really, mesh it to. They're kind of similar to a cross between Salina and China Spring up front. They're going to be real aggressive up front, try to get off the ball, try to shoot gaps, try to get upfield and make chaos. But they are lighter. They're, more skill guys playing defensive line than pluggers that are going to hold the gap. So a little change of pace for us because this last week we had some really big defensive linemen that were very, very big and physical, not necessarily trying to shoot upfield as much. This week that's a little different. So that's something we've really been working on, trying to get our hands on guys, setting up our offensive line to get into situations where we can work double teams, we can lean on these smaller guys and hopefully, use our screws and hands and get them moving.
I love it. Hey, so on the other side of that, and Phil had brought this up with Brown, but we had a couple other guys that really stepped up. Rowan Nylander, Ace Trailer stepped up in a big way. How do you see some of those guys and who stepping up for this week's game against Gunner, and who should we be watching?
Yeah, so Rowan had a heck of a catch, had a phenomenal catch, and he's kind of, we're going to utilize him in a little different way this week, but he's going to get a lot of plays. I think, Ashton's doing a good job of getting in there, and, we're trying to get him real comfortable. He's, still in a first game with us.
Yeah.
And so getting him familiar with the system and everything, getting him comfortable, I think he's really about to get there. I think he's going to have a really big game. And then Ace is doing he's the Swiss Army knife right now, playing fullback and slot receiver and, blocking punts, blocking 4 punts. He's doing a little bit of everything. And those kind of guys, if you've got them, you can win a lot of games. You've got to have those guys in a long season.
Sure, for sure.
Well, Coach, that's it.
Awesome.
You survived another week with us.
Appreciate it.
Hey, great job, and thanks again. We're going to take one more break and bring in Coach Rod next, right after this brief little ad break. All right, we're back and joined by Coach Rodriguez. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Well, last week we talked about some keys to success, and you kind of helped us understand some terminology, right? We use keys specifically in this question to let you know we're learning too. So, looking at this week ahead, what are some keys to success when it comes to special teams, and how do you feel like this group performed compared to those standards?
They did a really good job this past week. Oakland had some really great skill guys at returners. Any one of those guys could return it, to the house. And I felt like our kickoff team did a really good job of being able to contain them and being able to spread down the field and bring them down. one of our kickoffs, we were able to get them down inside the 15-yard line. So again, we're just able to help set our defense up for success when we're able to do that. And their biggest return was no more than 25 from the 25-yard line. So I was very pleased by them. I thought they executed their reads really good, and I thought they were sprinting down the field and gave a lot of effort. So on the kickoff return side, was very pleased with them as well on that side of the unit. Ronald Bell has a big return on the opening kick, and we're able to get a lot of key blocks, and we're able to bring the ball to the 50-yard line. So again, that's just helping put our offense in a good spot.
Well, and I love that because it really set the offense up for a successful opening drive, which was one of the things that we talked about last week on this show with really all the coaches was, we need to start off well and start off hot. And so you guys helped do that. Right. I want to talk about the onside kick, though.
Come on.
Okay. I want to talk about that.
Yeah,
My question is that something that you guys called and noticed from the booth going into halftime? Was that a Desmar check with me, audible? He saw what they were doing? Kind of talk me through that.
So we noticed on film, breaking them down on their previous game, that they had a big old gap, that their center was they had 2 guards, 2 tackles, and they had a center that was 15 yards back. So we saw that there was a big old gap there. And when they came out and I saw on how they aligned, I told Coach Parr it was there. Well, as the game progresses, Coach Parr mentions it, hey, opening half, we're going to go middle dribble. I'll say, awesome. So we get into halftime, and I'm talking to the guys, and I see Dez, and I say, hey, Dez, you better be ready. We're going to go middle dribble, opening kick, okay? Be ready because it's there. Well, then, we get out of the locker room. We're lining up for kickoff, and Coach Parr says, well, we're going to go deep left. No middle dribble. So I'm like, okay, well, it's there. Hopefully we come back to it. Well, then the next thing you know, Dez goes middle dribble. And I'm just like, I don't know what happened. We caught it on the sideline. I guess he didn't hear the call. But as soon as I saw that ball leave the tee, I'm like, we better recover this because Coach Parr's going to be pissed. So, luckily we were able to steal possession, and, we gave our offense another opportunity. Now, we didn't come out with any points out of that drive, but it was an interesting story for sure.
I love it. That was one of those no, yes moments.
So I think everybody on the sideline was actually looking up, trying to find the ball, and then everybody's cheering and noticed that Dez had the ball, so it was.
Well, I think Oakland was looking up for the ball too, so it really worked out perfect.
Yeah. I was totally faked. I had my camera. I'm like, where did it go? I don't know where the ball went.
I
see everything.
I see a lot of the coaches look up and they're looking for the ball, and then Dez is fielding the ball. So, but he did a really good job being able to execute that, and as well as on his other kicks.
Well, let's transition to some of the receivers, right? Of course, we've mentioned Ronald Bell a couple times tonight, and Sarah Ashton. We've already talked a little bit, but give us your perspective on their performance and what you saw from them and how that went.
Yeah, across the board, I thought we did a good job of spreading the ball, and Rowan had some big time catches, like Coach Riggs said. Executed mesh really. I was very pleased on how Rowan and Ashton executed mesh. And Ashton had that big old touchdown on the corner route. Ace, again, just somebody that's very intelligent and, does what he's supposed to do. And he's just been really good. And, Ronald Bell is just a big deep threat that, we saw last year what he was able to do. And, he's continuing to, bring what he was able to do this year after the injury, so that was really good for me to see, is him being able to bounce back from that big injury that he had last year. And him be very successful.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun for us. I mean, we make no bones about it. We spent a lot of time talking to Ronald Bell, and to be able to see him come out and find some success. It was funny watching him a little bit closer, watch him on the sideline. He's like, I got this, just give me the ball. He was so hungry.
Yeah.
He wanted to make a play for his team so bad.
Yeah.
It just seemed, and there were several of those guys like that.
Yeah.
They want to get fed. They want to make their plays. They want to do their thing. But one of the things I was especially noticing was I want to help us. I can help us. I know it. There was so much confidence in him.
Yeah. So I mean, the stat sheet shows we had over 300 yards passing, and our average yard per catch, I think, was around 17 or 18 yards. So there was a lot of productivity just across the board from all those guys, and I was very pleased on how they played.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You want to?
Well, yeah. So, hey, looking forward, where are you guys finding some space where you can win against Gunner's DBs in this coming week?
Yeah, so Coach Rigg touched on this as well. Gunner is very good at what they do, and they one of the best teams in the state of Texas, very well known in the North Texas area. And with that being said, their philosophy is similar to what we try to do on offense, and it's be really good at what you do. You know, keep it simple, be really good at what you do, and play fast. And with what they do, we got a good plan, and I feel very confident in being able to get the guys and being able to spread the ball. So I'm looking forward to it.
Play fast is interesting. We had a couple of last year's players that were out watching the game, and a couple of their remarks was like, yeah, it looks like it just looks like they're almost in slow motion. They're trying to catch up a little bit, and I said, well, what's going to happen? And they all said, they'll grow up. Mm-hmm. Like they'll grow up. They've got to have that experience to get through that, and they'll start playing faster, and they'll start catching up to the speed of the game.
Right. Yeah. And with a well-coached team like Gunner, in the past we played some teams that aren't well coached, and you never know where they're going to be, right? And that's hard as an offense and trying to throw the ball, being able to dictate on where they're going to be. But with Gunner, because they're really well coached and we know what they're going to do, it does give us a little bit more confidence going into the game.
You can run some different things at them to kind of stretch them and bend their defense a little bit. Right, I love it. I don't want you to give too much away, because we don't want them to know what you're looking at for Friday. Right. Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
off camera, coach is like, no.
Coach like, change the subject now.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, any other thoughts you have before we wrap up and call this a night?
No. Overall, like I said, special teams. I do want to give one quick shout out to Seth Bobbitt. So we talked about the cramping and how it played an effect in the game on Friday, and Dez catches a cramp. And Seth Bobbitt, who has kind of been, like a roller coaster on his kicks, right? He didn't have a really good pregame. He struggled, and I'm trying to get him to give us some good kicks for our returners, and it's like every kick is a squib kick. So, I was just like, oh, man. So, like, I hope Seth is able to get a good kick, and, sure enough, he goes in there, and his kick has a really good ratio of hang time and distance, and he was able to step in and help our guys, help Dez out when he really needed it.
You look at him after, was like, hey, more of that in practice, please.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, what you did in the game, please do that all the time.
Oh, well, guys, that's going to be a wrap for us this week with the Coaches Show here at Crow's Cafe. We want to thank all of you for being here in person tonight in the restaurant. I know that Crows appreciates all the meals you purchased, all the drinks you had, and all that stuff. So thank you. They're a great sponsor. They've been a good friend to Coyote football, and so we also thank you guys that are joining us on the stream, and we look forward to having you guys back next week for the next Coaches Show. So don't forget, this Friday we got a game. But hey, 5:30 tailgate. Listen, come out and tailgate. Whether you're here in person, you're watching online, come out and tailgate, because otherwise you're going to be bussing over from the high school because you won't have a parking spot. So come tailgate so you get a parking spot. And then you're guaranteed to get a parking spot so you can be there ready for the game. And if you get there early, you get to see the Coyote walk into the stadium, and you're there in time for the kickoff at 7:30. So we look forward to seeing you guys all there. It's been a great night, and we'll catch you next time on the Coaches Show, The Den with Coach Seth Barr. Have a great night.
Thank you.